All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Tonight, we're going to be talking about one of the best teams in the National Football Leagues, folks. That's the Detroit Lions. They're sitting here at 7-2 after a riveting game, 41-38 on the road. The ball is on Dan Campbell. I absolutely love it. This is one of the most physical teams in the entire league, and we're going to talk about all of that in tonight's video. But before we do, the Lions, I'm 24 years old, man. I'm a Green Bay Packers fan, but I've seen my fair share of Lions games in my life. The Detroit Lions lose games like that my whole life. My entire life, they lose games like that. They just would find a way to lose it. And keep in mind, if we go back, we turn that clock back one calendar year ago when the Detroit Lions were like 2-6, we have to keep in mind, this team is still learning and figuring out how to win. And what's even better is they're just genuinely winning. I mean, they're winning. They're 7-2. So you can tell me whatever you want. The naysayers can bring up the Baltimore Ravens game, the Seahawks game, whatever. They can bring up the defense. I don't care, because the Detroit Lions can hang with every team in the league, all right? Here's the thing. Let's get this video started off with a fun Jared Goff fact. In turnover-worthy plays, Mr. Jared Goff is number one in the league at 1.7%. They have the coaching staff. They have the pass game. They have the coordinator and Ben Johnson. They have a crazy running back duo in David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, one of the best in the league. They've got the weapons at wide receiver and tight end. And to just put the cherry on top, they have one of the best offensive lines in the entire league. But folks, before we get into tonight's video, if you guys enjoy it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. Lions fans, much love as always. I seriously cannot appreciate you guys so much. Words cannot describe it. If we could try and get this video to 500 likes, that would mean the absolute world to me. But here are some fun facts, all right? The Detroit Lions offense, 406.4 yards per game. What rank is that in the league? I'm so glad you asked. That's second. This team can beat anybody, all right? They are that physical. They're in the number 6 offense in the league as far as rating goes, all right? 4th in rush yards per game. They're 5th in passing yards per game. The offense is just beautiful. It's just absolutely money. Jared Goff is just rock solid. He's very clearly a top 10 QB. I mean, if you guys watched him at Cal, if you watched him with the Rams, you know Jared Goff can play. He's got the perfect system around him, and I think he's just the perfect, like, cool, calm culture setter for the QB of the Detroit Lions. This offensive line, man, nothing affects these guys. And so we're getting into that point of the season where seeding becomes extremely critical. And I've said it on this channel, and I'll say it one more time. If the Detroit Lions are the number 1 seed in the NFC by the time the regular season ends, they are going to be my Super Bowl selection for the NFC. I get it. Lions fans don't want to jump ahead of themselves. I will jump ahead of myself, and I will say, if the Detroit Lions are number 1 seed, watch the F out. But in general, this team dominates the trenches every single football game. Guys, they just put up 533 points. 533 yards, guys. They just put up 533 yards rushing. They had 200 rushing yards. Now that David Montgomery is healthy, and now that we've seen 9 games of Jahmyr Gibbs, given Ben Johnson time to scheme him into the system, it's lethal. And the offensive line is a huge reason. Run game, pass game. If you can control the trenches, guys, you're going to control the game. And offensively, they control it. That is exactly what they do. Now, a little bit later on in the video, we'll talk about some things I'm not completely enamored with, specifically that defensive line. But while we're at it, David Montgomery, 12 carries, 116 yards. The dude averaged 9.7 yards per carry against the Chargers. Folks, this isn't college football. That is, even if it was, that's an unbelievable statistic. We're going to pair up David Montgomery's 116 yards on 12 carries with Jahmyr Gibbs' 2 rushing touchdowns, 77 yards, and 14 carries. 5.5 yards per carry. The Detroit Lions, 2 days ago, had 3 rushing touchdowns and 6.5 yards per carry. Guys, I'm telling you, you've got the quarterback. You've got an elite level winning quarterback, and they control the offensive trenches, and they are going to control games. Now, defensively, I get it. They just gave up 38 points, but we'll talk about that in just 1 second. Jared Goff, the Detroit Lions offense, can hang with every team in the league because their offense is that good. They have it all. They literally have it all. I have my young star rising tight end in Sam Laporta. I have my clear star wide receiver in Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is on an absolute tear this season. Getting a little bit deeper, Jahmyr Gibbs can certainly catch the ball. Brock Wright, even a little bit deeper down in the tight end chart. Raymond, Reynolds, Williams. I know Williams, we're still waiting for him to fully break out like he was in college and like where, you selected him in the first round. Give it some time. I promise you, give Jameson Williams some time. All right. Now let's talk about some things I'm not completely enamored with. But at the end of the day, the defense is still getting the job done. And the defense is getting the job done, more importantly, in situational positions. All right. I have concern-esques for their pass rush. However, I do think with a healthy James Houston, I don't know the stat off the top of my head, but he broke a record last year as a rookie. I mean, this was a guy who almost went undrafted. And he had, what was it, like 9 sacks in 7 games, 8 sacks in 7 games. It was something just insane. So we're going to pair him up with superstar Aiden Hutchinson. Now, pass rush is something I'm going to watch for the rest of the season. Another thing defensively I'm going to watch the rest of the season is the defensive back unit because they are a little bit banged up, but we have to keep this in mind. And I noticed this immediately with the Kansas City Chiefs last year because they had the stud at the defensive tackle position in Chris Jones. They had the stud linebacker in Bolton. By the end of the season, all of those young players, I'm looking at guys like Jack Campbell, who's done a phenomenal job, Brian Branch, who's done a phenomenal job, Kirby Joseph, Aiden Hutchinson, James Houston, Lee McNeil. We could literally name so many players on the Lions defense because that's how young they are. By the end of the season, I promise you, this Detroit Lions defense, 38 points, you're going to have weeks like that. You're just going to give up, especially to Justin Herbert, a phenomenal top 5 quarterback in this league, if you ask me. By the end of the season, these rookies, these second-year players, these third-year players, guys like Aleem McNeil, Aiden Hutchinson, all the players we just mentioned, they're going to be clicking by the end of the season. I promise you they're going to be clicking by the end of the season. But more importantly, this team situationally, led by Dan Campbell, the big ass balls that this dude had. What was it? The first drive of the game, he went for it twice on 4th down. This guy is the perfect leader of any football team, but he's the perfect leader of the Detroit Lions. This team is one of, if not the most physical squads in the entire National Football League. And situationally, offensively and defensively, especially offensively, they're getting the job done. They're 7-2. We could sit here and look at that Ravens game and worry. I'm not worried. Teams have bad games. Teams have bad weeks. When you play 17 regular season games, this isn't college football. We say it on the channel all the goddamn time. This isn't college football. Context matters to a certain degree, but it's the NFL. All I care about are wins. The Detroit Lions are 7-2. Okay? They're 7-2. They can hang with anybody. They're that physical and they're that talented. So they're super, super young. Around this time last season, they were 1-6, guys. They were 1-6. In the last year, they're one of, if not the best team in the National Football League. All right. The rest of the season, I cannot wait. I cannot wait for this upcoming Thanksgiving. My Cheeseheads taking on your Detroit Lions. Stay tuned for a video on that. But in the meantime, you got the Bears. I'm actually, oddly enough, I'm wearing a Bears hat right now as I record this video. Let me know, guys, what you're thinking about this Detroit Lions team because I'm sold. They're the real deal. You can't tell me otherwise. Thank you for watching. Hit that like button. Hit that sub button for daily NFL content. Guys, drop some comments down below. I love reading it. Love interacting with you guys. And yeah, that's it for tonight. Peace.